Hey, all right, welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. I am your host, Rob Raffety. It's time for another session of Riffin with Raff. Yes, this is my opportunity to bring in some of the people that inspire me and that I want to introduce to my legions of fans and followers, all 5 or 10 of you out there that listen to this show. Anyway, I'm very excited today to introduce you to a friend and now fellow creative collaborator, Juan Ayala. Juan, welcome to Raff's Brain with Riffin with Raff, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking time. Now, listen, folks, we have a really cool backstory. This is we're going to talk about our origin story, and I just, in a sense, think that what we accomplished today together is really cool and worth taking stock. That's why I invited Juan to just chat for a little bit about what we just created, where we think it's going, what the next steps are, and you guys can come along for the ride wherever that takes us, whether it's to the promised land or off a cliff. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. Here's the backstory. Juan and I are colleagues, and we linked up. At a certain point, I think you saw me on LinkedIn, and you reached out to me on an email or something. What prompted you to reach out to me? You saw something about me, creative process or something. Do you have any memory of that at all?
I do, very specifically. I think you were probably on an adding escapade on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I was like, who's this guy? What's going on here? And I went, Rob Raffety, interesting name. And I scrolled your profile, and I saw you had a master's in screenwriting. And to me, I was like, wait, that's what I want to do one day. This guy might be a good person to know, or might be someone who knows someone that would be good to know. Let me reach out. So I did. And then now we're here.
Yes, I remember now. Here's my thing. As in my job, I go on LinkedIn and I find all the people who I work with. Once a month, I go through and I look for the new people that are, in my community that I want to befriend. And I just cold call, reach out to people. Hey, man, let's get connected. So that's how we got first introduced. I just took that leap of faith. It was really you, though, that took the first step. You reached out to me, said, hey, man, let's get together. I'm interested in screenwriting. I will talk. I'll drop anything. I mean, I have to do my job, but I will drop whatever I can do realistically and meet up with people who are similarly curious about storytelling and the creative process. So we grabbed coffee. We hit it off. You told me a little bit about your passion for horror film. Tell me, where does that come from? You remind me, what is it specifically about that genre that really appeals to you? And then maybe also in the process, we can get to some of your favorite movies of all time if you want to go there,
Oh, man, that's a burning, deep question, Rob. I think I grew up reading R.L. Stein in Goosebumps, scary stories to tell in the dark. And no one really pushed it on me. I just kind of found it interesting and found being scared fascinating. And I kind of grew into the Halloween mode, where October became my year-round thing. And it was fun to just get scared. But as I grew up and I got older, I found that things kind of scared me less and less. So the more that I ventured out into film, I was like, wait a minute, I need things that are more interesting, but in a horror way. I want story in horror. I want an actual engrossing plot, character driving, and development, plus the scariness of it all. I think the last few years have been pretty good for horror in terms of directors and writers and kind of just creative content. But that's what kind of led me down this path.
That's
when
cool.
I saw your writing, you're into it, I was like, this is going to be a great connection for a creative resource.
Yeah, and of course, when we first met, I was like, well, I like horror movies as a genre. I've never really written horror. I've enjoyed consuming it. Sometimes I question why I enjoy it. It's like I have these secondary, and I'll say there's some genres that I think are so over the top, like Hostel. And I've seen, Blumhouse, some of their more, if you'd call them sensational works. It's like, or even take something as extreme as the what's that centipede? Human centipede. This stuff is just horrific and nasty and gruesome and torture. And it's like, is this entertainment? What about this most recent one with the clown? It's very violent. There's the electrocutioner or the executioner.
Oh, do you mean Terrifier?
Terrifier. Are you into that franchise at all, or not really?
I was very curious about it because it was based on a character in All Hallows Eve, which is kind of an indie horror flick that wasn't too gory, but the director saw a good character and made that its own, I guess, origin story. And those films are extremely violent. They're crazy. They're nuts. And they have a cult following. So I saw the third one in theaters, actually, you mentioned it, to get that full horror effect. I'm kind of into it, kind of not. I get the appeal, but they're not my full cup of tea.
You're more for let me try to think. Well, how do you think about the Saw franchise, for instance? There's like moral stories. There's a tale of like a revenge and intrigue and like the bad guy, or even like the movie Seven. Would you count that in the genre of horror in a sense? It's like I don't know. Tell me a little bit about. Let's go deeper on this. What movies do you really like in this genre?
I think Saw was a good precursor. I think a lot of folks, especially in the genre, James Wan, Blumhouse Productions, Focus Features a little bit, and A24 more recently are kind of taking from the Saw aspect of it all, of a single location, low budget, very low character name idea across audiences, and building off that and getting commercial success. But for my kind of, I guess, genre-driven horror films, the Ari Asters of the world, the Hereditaries, the Midsommar, that kind of envelope, a bigger psychological taste to it all.
Very cool. Okay.
That's what I like.
This is helpful context. I'm setting this up for a reason, Juan, because ultimately what happened. So we met months ago. It was like in the summer or the late summer. So this is a while back, and we see each other in the hallway. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, catching up, busy. We're all staying. All right. Definitely one thing that came out of that meeting was, dude, I'm a super connector. I just want to get people meeting with other people they need to meet. So you like film writing, screenwriting. You like films. You're a thoughtful guy. Like, you're interested in questions about human liberty, freedom, and that sort of thing. There's an organization called the Moving Picture Institute. MPI is the acronym, and their sort of tagline is freedom in film. They're advancing the ideas of individuality, freedom, independence in film. What does that look like, and why are these values important, and how does that manifest in a narrative storytelling? And they're just, they're about 20 years old, but they've done extraordinary work, and they have their own now feature-length productions of all kinds. Check them out, thempi.org. I'll drop a link in the show notes. But aside from producing their own content, shorts and now feature films, they are really historically mostly involved in talent development. So when I hear someone who's like, I'm interested in screenwriting and I'm interested in these ideas, I'm like, well, you need to meet with MPI. So I introduce folks, and you got connected, and then you got on their email list. And I think you may be hammering through the possibility of an internship in the spring with one of their partners, which is all very cool. But really what happened is, probably about a month ago, I saw an email where they have another round of their short film lab. They're seeking ideas for short film scripts, not even the script itself, just a little mini treatment, like what's your plot, what's your concept, what's the synopsis, and then why does this relate to a specific theme? In this case, the theme relates to free speech as a broad opportunity for any creator to come up with a story that, softly emphasizes the importance of free expression, free speech in the digital era. What would that look like? So I think I shot that over to you. Well, I sat on it for a while because I'm just lazy and I had other things going on. It's like we're busy. Then I was like, any opportunity you have to submit to a contest like this needs to be seized. The bar is not that high, right? Like, all you got to do is take a little bit of time to come up with a cool idea and send it in. And who cares what happens? Do your best. Take your best shot. You're always better for buying a ticket to see what happens. So I reached out to you probably like a week ago. I was like, hey, man, this deadline's coming up. I know you like horror film. I had a crazy thought. I don't know why this came to me. I remember this. It was an email. I was like, should I even email you this? You might think I'm nuts. So I was like, to me, like free speech, one of the interesting angles of that is when someone self-censors. What are the risks of a culture where free speech isn't as valued, or maybe there's like groupthink that frowns upon certain dissenting opinions to the extent that people then withhold their true feelings and thoughts. And anyway, for some reason, my mind gravitated to this really gross idea of people that would cut off their tongues, or that there's some type of really sick, horrific visual depiction of tongue mutilation that could be really interesting if it was done in a intellectual context. So anyway, I just reached out to you with this idea, and I said, would you want to partner with me or consider entering this contest? You were very quick to say, heck yeah, man, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then we each kind of went off and came up with a whole bunch of different pitches and ideas. But tell me, like, what was your process when you first got this invitation? What did you do to like think through the possible ways that what's your brainstorming process like?
So I was excited, first off. I mean, any kind of opportunity to get my creative juices flowing in the most horrific senses, I'm all for it. And if it's for a good contest entry, this is my first one ever done. This is me getting my feet wet, me kind of poking around to see what I could do. And to me, that was super fun, super awesome. And to put a time constraint on it was even better. and then you just had to add fuel to the fire. So I immediately thought, because you brought up the idea of someone cutting out their own tongue. And I went, how can we make that a short, single location, low budget horror thing? And my mind went crazy. This is gonna be super cool, super sick. So we sent some ideas back and forth, and we came up with something that I think is going to be really cool.
Yes, and we just submitted it today. Actually, you submitted it. I will say you took the lead on the project. I mean, I helped kind of get the fire started, but then you really took the ball and ran with it. We kicked around a couple different zany ideas, but then we did the tongue thing. I think you and I both see that. Oh man, it's gruesome. It's disgusting. It definitely works. The allegory of speech is there. So you came back with this really interesting concept. The initial title was The Echo Chamber, but then we kind of revised that. But it's now called Red Room. And you introduced me to this idea of the Red Room as a kind of cult sensation on the internet. Tell us about the Red Room, because I hadn't heard about this before.
Yeah, so we have 2 or 3 good ideas that we liked.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized Red Room and Echo Chamber, these can be used almost to play off each other. And the entry that we have with a podcast host, like, wait, Echo Chamber sounds like a good name for a podcast. And what if the punishment she had was a Red Room, which is in, I guess, dark web folklore, a place where people log in using the Onion, and it's where you basically watch a snuff film online. And there's so much dark or about this, and it's crazy the wormholes you find on Reddit. But people definitely look at this stuff. It's gotten, I'm pretty sure, like poetry, books about it. And if you put this in a script, people are like, wait. And there'll be almost like a subconscious click that'll add more audience like lore to it. So we use that, and I think it came out pretty well. And that will combine, psychological thrillers, the lure of an online dark room, so to speak, and then that nice horror free speech concept.
Yeah, I think of it as kind of, I didn't include this as in our pitch itself, but if I was talking with someone on the street about it, I'd say it's sort of like Super 8. Is that no? That's that Steven Spielberg movie. What am I talking about? What am I talking about, dude? What's that movie? 8mm. 8mm. Did you ever see 8mm with?
I've never seen that. No.
Oh my gosh, dude! What's his? Nicolas Cage is an investigator tracking down a missing person, and she ends up having been the victim of a snuff film. You got to see this, dude.
Oh, I maybe should see that.
It's called. Okay, that's now we got research assignments. So I would say it's like 8mm meets. Saw type of vibe, right?
Okay.
That's how I think. I mean, those are kind of characteristics, but it's a cool story. And the reason I like it is you're like, hey, what if it's a podcast journalist? She's doing an investigation. She's kind of like discovering something that the powers that be don't want shared. And then she's going to go through this kind of torturous experience, and it's going to involve her making tough decisions about whether she submits to the power or takes some drastic measures, and we don't want to. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin it. What impressed me the most, I'll say this real quick. We'll wrap up here in just a second, but I want to say, like, not only did we kind of kick these ideas around, you just like cranked out. It's fun to always like partner with people, see how their different creative process works. I always told you I like to know what the end of the story is, and I'll try to write towards that destination. So I struggle. You just like go. You just like, oh, here's a couple ideas. And you jumped in. You sent me like a 5-page script. It's like a little story. It's gross. It's compelling. It's tense. It has, catharsis somewhat at the end. And there's going to be like a future to this girl. Anyway, between all this, bottom line is we were able to come up with an entry for the program. And the reason that I got motivated to ask you to have this conversation today is just take stock of the accomplishment, which isn't a huge accomplishment in the grand scheme of the world, but I think it's always worth celebrating. We set out to do something not that long ago. It was a little audacious. We don't really know exactly what we're doing. You're somewhat new as a writer. I'm more experienced, but I don't know horror writing as much. So we're both learning together. There's a good chemistry and vibe. Let's just document it. We submitted today. That is you as the leader, but as co-entrants submitted our treatment, our entry for the MPI Short Film Lab, Red Room. Yep. I'm proud of it, regardless of what happens. So I wanted to acknowledge that in my podcast today.
I think of sheer willpower, it's awesome. And when it comes to writing, I think in the film world, I'm a general novice, but I've been a speechwriter in politics for a long time. So it was like a different hat. It's like a different brainstorming aspect. And I was like, can I do this? I think I can. And I sent you a script when we first met.
That's right.
Called Mia. And it was But my favorite ones are done. And I'm sure you were just like, this guy is insane. This is like dark and twisted. But you kind of got the general feel of what I aim to be.
What's fun about this partnership, and it's tough. I think people struggle with this, and I just want to take a moment to respect your vulnerability, if you will. Like, you shared with me your work. We had just met, and this stuff is like pretty intense and like and violent, and it deals with really dark, very dark themes. And I'm like, thankfully, I'm a type of guy who loves to like talk about those things. If I was a little bit, prudish, I would have been calling the cops. So it's good when but I knew immediately. I was like, I like this guy because he's just open. He's like, yeah, these are some things I'm really excited about. These are dark themes, but I think they're really good material for storytelling and just thematic exploration and creative exploration. So that's how it got to a good start. This first concept that we're collaborating on sounds kind of cool. Red Room. What appeals to me, I'll just say as we wrap up, not only is the story itself, which we'll have to, if we get to the next round, which we'll know in a few weeks, we would then have to actually write a first draft script. That's going to be more challenging, I think. But I think we could, obviously, if we get the opportunity, we'll do our best. But what I really like about the concept is it has a lot of room for growth and exploration. You have a protagonist who's a podcast investigative journalist, and I've always loved like multimedia projects where we could imagine what are the podcasts that she makes like, and you could even write some of the podcast episodes that could be produced as a separate intellectual property that's related to the under. So I think there's a lot of opportunity if we get into the next round to see where we can go with this thing and have fun with it. And no matter what happens, it was worth the taking a shot. I mean, it's so easy to think about ideas and then never take action. So kudos to you for sticking with it. Kudos to us. Let's give ourselves back a pat on the back. And to all the listeners, this won't be the last time you hear from me and Juan. We're going to be working on something, whether it's this or something else. I just have a good vibe about the future.
It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And I think the best part of this, I think the script is it's just the brand. It can be so many little things. It can just kind of teeter off. And if this doesn't work, there's going to be another film contest somewhere else or a script contest somewhere else. And we'll be right there waiting for it.
That's right, baby. All right. Thank you, Juan, for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Raff's Brain Riffin with Raff. Come back for more zany content, interviews, hot yoga problems, other things that I talk about. It's always a mishmash. But today we had a good time. And wish us luck. And we'll keep you posted. And maybe next time we talk, we'll be discussing how we're going to write this script. Oh, my gosh. Be careful what you wish for, folks. But I hope but fingers crossed. All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thanks, y'all.